They still do the friend codes. I don't know why, but they're still doing friend codes.
Right. Those seem to never die. I was gonna say, like, Maddie has been kind of crushing on this boy at school, and they've been playing Minecraft together, and so they have to like get on a phone, and it takes Julie, my wife's phone, and because I'm like, I'm not having any children's phone number on my phone at all. Like, no, they cannot call or text me. No. But I'm like, now I'm like, just after that hangout with Mark last night, I was like, there's a real temptation and be like, all right, if he could get a Switch 2, you could get a Switch 2. And then all of a sudden we don't have to have a cell phone plan for y'all to be able to talk and play games because they're playing on Switch once. Like it's literally like this is something that it's Nintendo is 20 years late to the party, but at least they did. It feels like they've done a pretty good job. But I'd like to know your guys' thoughts because will the Switch 2 sell more than the Switch 1? What's your prediction? Let's lock it in now.
Yeah, we were talking about this again last night. I think when I always think of these questions, I always take a hold of the external factors that influence the current question and the scenario we're examining from before. So I think the Switch 2 will sell as good as the Switch 1 given its environment. So Switch 1, where's that at? Like 150 million now, right? We have to account for COVID. COVID, at least in North America, where it's a big consumer marketplace, people got to stay home and do something. They had more free time than ever. People that never gamed, I know personally, bought a Switch. They bought a Switch. They got money to stay home, right? We're now living in an environment where that's not happening, unless hopefully it doesn't happen again. But also the global economy is struggling, right? Inflation's tough, consumer spending's down. So all that aside, I still think it's going to be wildly successful for what Nintendo needs it to be, like 90 to 100 million, maybe more. People were looking at the first like few days of how well people were showing up. That's, it's hard to say because console launches always do well. What matters is the tail, like the launch window from now till December. What we see number wise, I think will be an indicator, especially when we get more games announced, how well it will do. But I think it's going to be very successful. I don't think it will have the same numbers though as the Switch 1. I just don't think it's realistic with where gaming's at now.
Yeah, I think over time you'll see a lot more success. We also have to consider that when the Switch 1 launched, we were burnt out on the Wii U. We were very dissatisfied as hardware Nintendo consumers. The Wii U was a disappointment. It didn't sell well. Nintendo wasn't in a good spot. So that was kind of their Hail Mary. We got to come back from this. And when you look at the Switch 2, it's very much just like a solid upgrade of everything that we liked about the Switch.
Yep.
And so from that perspective, a lot of people probably aren't going to be in a rush. The holiday is probably going to sell really good. I have no doubt about that. As long as Nintendo can keep us with like a game every month or every few months, like first party title releasing every few months, I think that steady sales will stay up. But
it's gonna be interesting because I think they can do that, but it's the high probability that it's a remake or a port of something that they've done in the past is only increasing. I think that's leading to kind of a global frustration within gaming. I'm thinking we're seeing kind of a gaming reset, because one of the things I've said is that this, like, while I got a lot of playtime in the Switch, it is an inflated number because we bought 4 Switches as opposed to like, I only had one Wii. Like I didn't need multiple, but then because of the portable and handheld nature of it, we had 2 Switch Lites and we had the OG and the OLED switches. It's like that's 4. So in terms of like household mind share, I think that's actually gone down dramatically. People have like Scrag. He's like, I've got this game already on PC. I've already have the ability to play this over here. Like what's the sales pitch? And the Switch 2 is just a premium upgrade. It isn't what the Switch was, because the Switch gave us that ability to play on, TV, playing handheld, playing, this kind of like disconnected dock. It gave you that level of flexibility. This is an upgrade. I feel like materially wise, it feels really great to hold. I'm excited. I don't regret my purchase at all, but it's going to be a harder sell because it doesn't really do anything that hasn't already been done and isn't already being done in other ways, right? Because the Switch 2 doesn't run GeForce Now. If it did, it would be the one and only handheld that I think I could possibly ever need. But my Steam Deck, my Logitech G Cloud, like these other handhelds, the are going to actually think offer a lot more value proposition than a mainline Nintendo game really can do. Because Scrag, like, I think he's our canary in the coal mine here, because he's not a big Nintendo fan of games. So outside of me, the family man who likes the Switch parental controls and how that kind of environment is set up, that's where I'm going to push my kids, because I also have that Nintendo relationship, right? But for anybody who's like kind of new and it's kind of migrated to PC, I have no way. I don't have a sales pitch for it. I'm not here to sell Switches. I get nothing for every Switch sold, but that's just, I think this is going to be something that does not actually sell as well as the Switch one, but only highlights the decline of major interest in consoles in and of themselves. I think they're just going to become a luxury product, and people are going to just kind of, adjust.
It's almost like it's reflecting back to in like the early 90s home consoles. Super Nintendo and Genesis were sold, still as toys, but very niche. They sold really well. And then you have like everybody had an Xbox 360 or a PS3. Everybody had a Wii.
PS2
and then we're kind of going back down to where it's a very niche product. If you love gaming, if you love Nintendo games, you're going to buy a Switch. You're going to buy a Switch 2 for those new games. And then back to your family, like multi-device approach. We didn't do that until very recently for the Switch. We had one for the longest. And then we found that we wanted to not share an Animal Crossing island, me and my wife. And so I bought her own that we kind of made what I call the living room Switch, where, we'll play split screen on that one. And then mine in the office will be like what I stream off of. And,
it's literally what Julie's like, why do you need another Switch? I was like, I'm going to have my Switch, and then here's the family Switch.
And then we bought a Switch Lite because my daughter just decided to destroy my wife's Animal Crossing island as well. So it's like, okay, everybody gets their own device, and the Switch Lite's a great proposition for that.
I think with the Crossing and Switch Lite was a lethal combo.